Hi guys, today we continue with the value of attention of the Care Leadership Program, and we're going to talk about the skill number 5, which is how you measure performance of your team. So as we discussed in the other skills when we were talking about the values and the purpose, well, here are the 8 values that the Googlers or Google defines for their team. And these are principles that can be applied and adapted at pretty much any type of organization, regardless of the size or the industry. So some of them are very important for what we're gonna do discuss today about attention and specifically how to measure for performance. So let's talk about them. The first one is thinking 10x, which is talking about true innovation and when you try to improve something by 10 times. So they think that if you dream big, almost impossible, you may not accomplish it 100%, but for sure you will get farther than anything. Then the other thing that they care about is focusing on the user, not on the competition. Then one of the values that they really foster is fail fast and learn. And this is one of the ones that we're gonna discuss later. The same is share everything you can and share data, not opinions. The other three is looking for ideas everywhere, meaning that every employee can contribute, every customer, anyone in the company doesn't have to be the owner. There's no hierarchies for ideas. Then they think that they had to hire the right people. That's their the value that they have in the company. The most valuable thing is for them, their people. And then the 7-10-20-10 rule, which is that they allow 20% and 10% of the time for specific projects. 20%, the employee can decide any type of project that they want to work on, as long as it has to do with the goals that the team needs to meet. And the 10% is they can think about projects that are totally unrelated to what they are working on. So all these values help people to understand what is exactly that Google wants from them. What is it that they are value more? In this case, you can see they value more innovation. They value that you try and you may fail, but that you are not afraid to think big. Again, think 10x. So these are the things that Google values, and employees want to know that. And why is this so important? Because when you want to measure performance, you want people to know what are you measuring and what are you caring more about. And the values are a great way to show that. Now we're gonna see other ways to measure or other ways to show what is important for the company apart from the values. So let's talk about one of these values, which is share everything you can. The mission and objectives are shared everywhere for everyone in Google. Um, Actually, Google Ads algorithm, for example, was born when an employee saw the problem shared in the Google Kitchen, just like one of these images that you see there, one of these boards. It was right there, and the founder was having a question on how they could improve the algorithm. They just posted there, and someone saw it and said, "Hey, I think I can solve this. I can work on that." And he worked the entire weekend on that, and then finally he solved it. So that's why they think that sharing everything is important to accomplish the company results. So first you have the purpose, then you share it, then you have more possibilities that the people will be able to accomplish those results. So there are many things that you can do to help people accomplish these results, which is making them feel safe to take risk, um, have open participation, and also help them decide fast. So these are the things that we're gonna review in this section specifically. So when we're talking about sharing everything, it's very important, especially in times of crisis. like the time where you have a hurricane or you have COVID-19 or any other type of problem. Communication and sharing everything is crucial for people. So what is it that you need to show? You need to show what you know. This is something that you need to share all the information you have. You have to share also what you don't know, and you have to engage your team in finding the solutions together. This is very important for companies to be able to perform as expected. Agile leaders have to develop the confidence to act in uncertain conditions and the humility to recognize what they don't know and what information they need to get. They need to recognize that they have to look for customers and frontline employees to provide better answers for how to best implement that vision on a day-to-day basis. So in the part of measuring performance, is crucial that we start sharing the information with the employees. Information from customers, information about how the process is doing, information about the context. As much as we can provide, it's much better for them to be able to make decisions, which is the fourth skill that we talked about before. But how are we going to foster that? How are we going to foster people to sharing information and trusting in our information? Because that's also something that happens a lot in companies when employees are asked to provide information. They're usually very short. They just share what they think is safe, what they think is secure. They tend to hide problems. So measuring performance is not about just showing the good things. It's about showing specifically what is wrong. We need to know what is wrong so that we can build on that. We can change it. We can improve it. What can we do to get that information out of the employees? The real situation of what's going on. First, we need to build trust. You need to trust yourself first and get past the imposter syndrome, which is feeling that you are not good enough. If you don't trust yourself, then it's very difficult that you will trust your employees because you will always be afraid that they will be able to get away you from the position you are, or maybe replace you. So those are the things that you have to avoid first. Be sure about what you know and what is your value. Then once you achieve that, you will be able to trust your team. You are there for a reason, so simply just you do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the best thing you can do, I mean, you can be better if you're not the only one. If you work with someone else, if you get information from different sources. So, transparent leadership is key to creating a culture of trust between leaders and their employees. Leaders don't need to cheer up constantly, but they need to focus more on building trust. So how can you trust your team? Just find their strengths, investigate what they like doing, and support that. Build a safe space by sharing performance metrics and results more openly. And once the employees are kept in the loop and understand their role in the purpose and the goals, and how are we doing, how everything they do is impacting the whole goal of the company, they are able to trust you and they will want to collaborate more in achieving those results. That's the way that once you trust your team, you will make them trust you. The other value that Google or principle that Google really insists on working is failing fast and learning. The only way that you can get into this loop of failing fast and learning is first if you trust. That's why we discussed this before. You need to trust your team and you need to trust that they are doing the best they can. When Google, for example, develops a product, they keep listening to the user once they launch it. And most of the companies right now that are in the tech industry work the same way. They test, they learn, and they repeat. That's the way they can self-improve, improve the way they work, improve the processes, improve the products. What you can do is always have a soft launch or a pilot launch where you can test with a small audience what you have developed and continuously ask for feedback. So we're not asking you to fail, but we're saying, yeah, probably you will fail. There are more probabilities that you will fail, that it's not going to be perfect, but you can make it better through time. The key here is to help the employee overcome the resistance to fail, not only from your team, but also yourself. Foster trying and experimenting and not penalizing mistakes. So as I said before, use minimum viable portions of information to test small things. For example, you can define that you're gonna write a book. Maybe you can publish the first chapter and make it other people see it and read it and see if it looks interesting and see if the way you're writing it it's appealing before writing the whole book. You can do that with many products. Like that's how apps are building too. They all start with a B um, testing where you first launch it, not complete, but in a way that people can at least try it and see if it looks nice, or you have to change colors, you have to change buttons, or you have to change what it's all about. And it's whenever you are able to divide your project into small portions, you can test each of the portions frequently. So the idea in the past, for example, you would um, be maybe 2 years building a product and then you will launch it. And maybe if it's wrong, then you already lost 2 years. Now the way it works is that you try to build this minimum viable product, and then what you do is testing it maybe weekly, maybe daily. Some of the apps are really tested daily or updated daily. That's how designers work. Don't be afraid of you or your team to fail. As soon as you can test it and improve it, and with low budget, you will do just fine. Really, it is worse to get paralyzed than to fail. So don't get paralyzed and continue working. Now, if you test all the time and you try different things, how can you reduce your odds to fail? Well, actually, you have to use the third principle in Google, which is use data, not opinions. So many times when you're in a meeting, you are discussing about what, hey, this is what I think, this is what I think. Well, what Google says is please don't bring just your opinions or good feelings. You may have them, but you need to support them. If you have data, you can challenge anyone, even a manager. So this is all about, again, these inverted pyramid or this diamond, this structure where everyone can decide, everyone can bring opinions or can bring ideas. But I suggest that if you're going to have so many people providing ideas, ask them to prove why. One of the things that you can use to prove if you're right or wrong is to get customer feedback, especially if you're trying to build a great product. You will need customer feedback to see what you're doing, to see where the problem is. Sometimes it happens that the problem is not the product, but the communication, or maybe the color you're using, or maybe who is promoting it, or how you're promoting it. So always make sure you have information to back up your decisions. Also, to provide a wow service, it's important that every employee gets to understand all these information. So in the past, again, And a lot of this information about the customer or trends was not available to employees. But the employees, if we're going to ask them to make decisions, we need to give them access to this information. Employees need to quickly get and act upon customer feedback, regardless of the size of the company. Now, part of empowering employees, part of being able to work remotely is that we need to assign clear goals to the employees so that they can organize their time. Many companies use different ways of measuring the performance. Some use the ROI system, which is results only work environment. So results are the only thing that matters to them. As long as the employees meet the results, they don't care how they do it. That enables them to work remotely from, they don't care if the employees is in front of the computer 8 hours, 5 hours, or 20 hours, as long as the results are there. Then other ways of measuring results are through the OKRs. That's something that Google, for example, uses. And OKRs are objectives to key results. What is an objective? It's a goal, something that we want to achieve. And once the team or the company has a clear goal, you can get key results that you want to get to achieve that goal. Then out of those key results, you define 3 to 5 metrics with targets that say yes, we achieved that result, and what are the key actions that you will do to achieve those. So these are the things that every employee needs to have very clear. What are the key results they need to achieve? They need to have these results with specific targets, and they need to have specific actions that they need to achieve those. So some of the things that you can know about the key results are that these targets are ambitious. OKRs are translated throughout the organization, not cascaded through a top-down command and control approach, which this secures involvement and ownership. All OKRs are open and visible for everyone. Then key results targets are set by the team themselves. So there has to be no judgment on how it is measured. So it has to be really clear and measurable. It cannot be, oh, we need to be the client needs to like our product. So how are you going to prove that? Amount of sales, amount of likes on Facebook, or what are you going to use? Then the other thing that is important is that you don't link these values to a bonus. This is a very positive feature and a prerequisite for avoiding gaming on target levels. Many companies have problems when the employees say, oh, I need to achieve X amount of sales. So they gamble during 1 month to be able to achieve more sales. And maybe that is counter effective for the company. So you have to, instead of focusing on the bonus, focusing on what needs to be done. That's what the employee needs to focus on. Some companies want to make results more attractive for the employees and not scary. So what they do is they use gamification to measure the results of the employees. This is very much used in call centers, for example, or sales team. This screen is from a system that is called Gamifica, which uses a combination of challenges, scoring systems, badges, rankings, and different methods of competition and cooperation so that you can keep employees engaged. Now, measuring performance is not all about data. So you need to have data, but on top of that, you need to get facts. Taichi Ono from Toyota would say data are of course important in manufacturing, but I place the greatest emphasis on facts. So data are recorded measurements resulting from an instrument, a detector, a gauge, or a human observation, or maybe you get results from um, digital sources such as Facebook or LinkedIn or AI. And there are many ways that you can get data, but there's always a degree of measurement that is uncertain. There's a bias or an error that cannot be measured. So it's important that you also grasp the facts, which are the result of direct observation. That's something that you can go and see in situ, where you can gather much more information. You can also get the context around that. Getting more information about the context can help you make better decisions, not only you, but also your team. Like this picture, for example, an employee can report and say, okay, we need to clean the floor because it's dirty. And then you just give them or you approve funds for maybe cleaning the floor or maybe rebuilding the floor. But if you go there, you can figure out that there's more about that. Like, why? Why do we have this problem on the floor? And then if you go there, you can look up and see that there's a problem on the roof, on the ceiling. There's something probably on the next floor, on the upper floor that has a leak of water or leak of something that is going to the down floor. So that can tell you much more. You're saying, hey, you may fix this floor now, but this problem, if it's not solved, you will continue having the leak later on, and you will have to keep rebuilding the floor on and on and on. So if you really want to save money, you want to find out what's really behind that problem. And many cases, you can only find that if you go to the place where things happen. There are some other examples that you cannot measure. Sometimes you don't have all the information unless you are there or unless you teach your employees to look there. Um, for example, what is the return on investment from sending an employee to training? Or what are the losses to the organization due to fear created by a performance evaluation? Or what is the lost business due to poor service from a call center that has high turnover? It's really hard to measure all these things, but if you go to see the team, you can realize maybe they are scared, or they are not being trained, or how's the way that they are talking to their customers. That's why many call centers, most of them, they do hearings. They hear what is the calls, the different calls, and try to find trends and try to find ways to improve those calls. So the key thing here is that you have to try to measure on site where the action takes place. With the right information, employees and teams can have the authority to make decisions and changes in their work. As I said before in the skill number 4, pushing decision making to the front line will help you make better decisions. Teach the employees to measure on site so that they have all the information that they need. What we propose is that you lead not from a position of power, but from an empowering position and provide all the means so that they can measure on site. So these are some boards that you can use to measure performance of production, to inform employees what's going on so that they can see where there are their problems, where they feel fine with their production. How can you do this when you're working remotely? Again, you have to work on empowering your team and make them make the decisions. You have to try to get more information together. Maybe they can provide you this information, maybe they can provide you with the context, or maybe they are better equipped to make a decision than you because they are part of that context. So as we keep pushing decision to the front line, you may also want to make them decide their own goals. They know better what they can do, how long it will take to do it, and what are the different problems that they may have. And maybe they can get better at deciding, hey, this is going to take me 3 hours, 4 hours, a day, or 2 days. So if you want to it's very important that you define goals that are achievable. If not, it's going to frustrate you and your team. So get information from your employees on what are the goals that you can expect from them. And this is not going to be easy the first time you try it. It's going to be hard at the very beginning. They may be very hard on themselves, or they may define very easy goals. But this is again, keep trying, keep iterating until you get the best way to make them decide what are their goals. We're going to learn more about that on the chapter of empowerment, for sure. So now to close this skill about measuring performance, please work on this exercise, work it with your team. Try to meet together online or in a group if you can, and write down the company purpose. Remember, we work on that on the previous exercises on the skill number 1. Then write down the goal of your specific team. What is it that you want to achieve? And then define the results that you want to achieve. To get to that goal, define 3 actions to achieve the goal, and what are the metrics that you would use to measure if they were accomplished or not. So this is an exercise that will have to be done very often. It's not something that you do once a year. You define the goals, and that's how you continue working. This may be, if you do a Scrum, it may be something that you do in every Scrum or maybe in every sprint. Or if you don't do Scrum, it may be something that you do every month. You define the frequency, but as frequent as you do it, it will help you better adjust the goals to what's really happening on the site. Again, may help, and don't just work it on your own, work it with your team. So this is for now. Now let's go to the next skill. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write down a message or a comment so that I can work on that and help you out. Thank you.